So welcome back to the Pinzgauer conversion. Been a bit quiet on the video front because we've been cracking on with this and other stuff we've got to do. So quick walkthrough of where we're at. Corin gave you an update last time, so this is my more exciting and interesting update, I'd say. So we spoke about we'd swap these light lenses. These are now on independent switches. These are LED. We managed to source them in the UK, so that should give us a bit of usable space. Corin's famous oak doors he bought at the Antiques Fair. These have been mocked up and fitted in some capacity, which are just going to create storage space. Bit of a challenge in that they're really old and really twisted, so you'll see this one's got a bit of a gap at the top. So part of the challenge with this Pinzgauer has been that we've had to make stuff fit what we're using, because we're using reclaimed and recycled stuff wherever we can. So that's why you'll see there's some gaps here which are going to be filled and cladded and tidied up and stuff. Moving in, we've continued with the cladding theme on the sides to match the walls. Worktop side is now 95% there. We managed to find this really cool jam pan which we've shown you before. That's now recessed in, it's going to act as a sink. If you remember, this mount on this door is for the water heater, so that will serve as a shower and also for doing pots and stuff. So what we wanted to do with this space was create something that was functional as a worktop, but also a storage compartment big enough for a gas bottle and water storage. I'll get rid of that wasp before it stings me. So this is a standard kitchen worktop and this is at full width. So what we've done is took it down and stepped it in. Again, thinking about the stained glass window and how that sits, that has to sit at that level because that matches to the outside of the van. So when you're looking inside, you've not got an offset window. So we've stepped that down, beveled the edge. This is fitted as I would fit a normal kitchen worktop, in that it's cut down, sanded, it's going to be oiled. This has been biscuit jointed and glued to give a really strong bond, and then it's fixed from underneath. These drawers currently mocked up are the storage that's going to sit under here. We've got these smaller drawers, so they're going to sit above the bigger drawers, which are 3 wide. Again, working with the weighing edge which we already had knocking around and fitted on the far wall, creating these feature points. This piece is actually going to be on a magnetic catch which will hinge down to aid in those sliding in and out, so you don't have to lift it. This side, we've already seen the window before, bed before. What we've done in this gap here is this is a critical feature in life, which is a toilet. So at the minute we're just mocking up what the top of that's going to look like. We've managed to get around on some cool bits of wood. And we're just figuring out what we want the top of that to look like. Maybe some sort of abstract water-esque flowing type of artsy, very fashionable, very Etsy, very Instagrammable top to a toilet. As you can tell, I'm all about that. So aside from that, there's your toilet. This is going to sit on a hinge lid. I'm sure most of you know how a toilet seat works. Same principle. So you know, it's also designed so that when you're on the toilet, you're at enough height that you can see over here, so you've got a poo with a view. Obviously it depends where you're parked. If you're in a lay-by, probably don't use it with the back doors open. But that little box acts as that. If you know, if you're in a situation as well where you don't necessarily want to take the toilet because you're stopping on campsites, that does lift out of there and just becomes a storage compartment. This compartment that steps up, the height of this is to the door, because it has to be, because we don't want to change these doors. We have got an off-cutter worktop knocking around. It is bigger than this piece, so it won't have these gaps, because we decided they weren't the best design feature. So that worktop, once it's cut in, because it's staved, will match the other side and fill that top. So at the back we've got this joined up design, and again in there we've got a storage compartment which we're going to put some shelves in and just make it a usable space. You'll see the ceiling or roof, I'm not sure if it's a ceiling if it's not in a house, has been painted. Just took it down to cream to make it less ambulancy, but we put the grab handles back in because at the end of the day it's an off-road vehicle. We might park it somewhere a bit hilly, a bit slanty, and they're quite a functional feature, although definitely better grey than orange. These holes here had blue lights in which didn't work, so what we've done is we've took those out, working on them at the minute, and we're going to be putting adjustable spotlights into these, so you know, reading light or cooking light, whatever you want to be. Previously these were old style strip lights, 12 volt, but two traditional strip bulbs with transformers in. We've sourced these strips which are a 12 volt LED, which we've just fitted, so we've literally took that straight into the feed. So we get a nicer light, they're a soft white, but also because they're LED they're low on power consumption, so we'll get more life out of the leisure batteries. So as you can see, without the cover on, they're quite a decent bit of kit, to be fair, for how much they cost. You know, they're just a sort of standard automotive light. So they fitted in there nice. This side's got the cover back on. Unfortunately it's the middle of the day, so we've not had a chance to see how bright these are at night, but by sort of closing doors and masking down windows, it gives you enough light that it sort of complements the atmosphere of the wood without you feeling like it's too bright, and you sort of got this stark white light on you, which is the whole feel we wanted to go for it. Coming further down, we spoke about the bed before. Now that the kitchen storage side is done, we're going to do the final markup on this and adjust to get the exact width we wanted. Webasto controls back up. These are the ends of what was a single 240 plug socket either side. We're going to put doubles in with USB and recess those so they flush fit, because behind this cladding we've obviously got inch batten. You know, we don't expect them to be used much, but if you're on a campsite and you've got electric hookup, you can charge phone. Would probably, if you're out in this, you'd have some sort of power pack as well. So they're functional and they exist, so we might as well leave them in and use them. The same as the hidden plug socket there, which we're going to relocate. Webasto staying where it is, we're just going to reroute the piping a bit more efficiently. So as we've discussed, the fridge and the access to the fridge and the beer which resides within is a critical aspect of the design of this vehicle. And originally the fridge was going to sit here. We had a sort of rethink, because when we covered the fuse board with this oak storage unit, it interfered with the opening of the fridge, which meant it would push the fridge out, and we don't want to impede on this space as we come in. So what we've done is we've put the fridge underneath the worktop. So again, when you're outside, you can absolutely get a beer. That's just on heavy duty drawer runners. It just worked out nice that the fridge we got was exactly the right size for the gap that we've got. And again, we've finished that off with cladding and wane edge to continue around the theme. So there's a few bits that we'll be running through shortly, which are going to go on walls, and features for putting bottles of whiskey, the most critical components of the build. We did manage to source this super cool piece of walnut, English walnut, which I finished up, and we've decided that absolutely needs to be a feature piece in here. So there's going to be a storage unit going in here, which will float off this top with that walnut as the top, because it's cool, and quite frankly, why wouldn't you? That end of the bed, between the bulkhead and the bed, we've got a storage unit which will then have a bolster cushion sat on top to complement the sofa and the seat inside. We mentioned before, it's about utilising space efficiently, so this little oak storage box will be going on this door, so sitting there for your spices and jams and things. From an electrical perspective, we've We've not really interfered too much with what already existed in here because it had plenty of power to plenty of places. Little things we've done you can't see off the back lights. We've took a 12-volt feed which will connect directly into the back of the fridge. The only major's the wrong word. The only complicated is not the right word. We're going to do something which is actually quite simple. There's a mains light switch on the dash binnacle through this window, which turns on the strip lights in the roof. Obviously, if you've got a paramedic in the back and a driver in the front, it makes sense to have that, but it doesn't make sense for us because if we're using the back, we're not using the front. So that light switch is going to be relocated to this wall. So we've got light switch at the back, light switch this side. We've got the isolators in the back for all the back as well. It's invisible touch light.
Yeah, try that switch. Just switch it off on that wall.
With the clapper.
Yeah, like that. And on. There you go.
So there's a couple of switches we're going to move, that and also the switch for the Webasto, just so that when you're in and out and you're camping, you've got nice, easy access to those switches. The sort of big task we've got to do, which we're getting close to do, is finishing this wood. So whilst we've burnt it, we've got these oak frames, oak worktops, weighing edge boards. This is all going to be oiled with a natural tung oil, which will seal it, give it protection. It's food safe on the worktops, and it will also just enhance all the natural grains and also the work we've done on here. Floor wise, we've still got the original ambulance lino in. It's great when you need to swill it down because it's covered in body fluids and fingers and things, but we don't really need it sterile. So we're going to paint that. Is the vibe we're going for at the minute. We've thought about options around different floor coverings. We looked at tiling it, but that was going to be heavy, very heavy. So at the minute we're going towards painting it, and it might be something that we revisit in the future, and maybe fake grass or whatever. The beauty of the vehicle is we've designed it to keep this space open, so we can change it and adapt it as we want. And that's kind of where we're up to at the minute. We think we're maybe a few days, 3 or 4 days away from finishing the interior. And once we've done that, it's going to be a case of prepping the body and getting her to paint, going green. And once she's painted, she's ready for a venture out. Morning. So we're cracking on with the Pinzgauer. It's been a little breaking videos while we've been prepping the body because we're aiming to get it painted this week and next. So from the stock that we bought this from, this one had probably the straightest body on it. A lot of these fiberglass bodies have twisted and they've got bubbles in. So we've managed to get it looking pretty decent. We're not looking for perfection, just for the fact that it's an overland camper. It's going to be used off-road. We're not looking to make a show car, so we're not going to be looking to fill and sand and get it like a Aston Martin paint finish. So the plan is flattened off. It's going to get primered today. We're working in 2 sections, box and then cab, and then she's getting painted matte green. Now I'm going to stoke the anger of all the vehicle painting police by saying that we're going to roller paint it. For anyone who says it always looks rubbish, it's no good, I disagree. I've painted tons of vehicles with rollers. If it's done properly, you can get a nice finish, and that matte utilitarian finish is what we want to match the truck. Equally, she's wide, so if we're taking her down green lanes, little tracks, and there's getting scratches down the side, doing the paint in that way means that once a year we can, for a relatively low cost, give her a completely new lick of paint. Equally, because these bodies aren't perfection, using the paint in that way will allow us to hide some of the imperfections, whereas if we were spraying it and then putting a lacquer on it or similar, you're going to see every little imperfection in the bus. So that's the plan for now. New windows are in, so they're going to be getting frames painted and stuff. The only outstanding bodywork we've got left to do is the bottom of this door. You'll see it's blown out a bit there. Essentially it's rotten, so this is going off to fabricator to get a whole new bottom of a door made, so that's all buttoned up and we can reseal it in. So next time you see it, it'll hopefully have some paint on and be looking a little less ambulancy and a little less holey and gappy, and a little bit more like it's ready to take on some adventures. Afternoon again. So Pinzgauer project is getting ever closer to completion. As you can see, we've got a good lick of primer on it. Overall, the bodywork's not too bad. There's a little bit of flattening off, but this will be going down to the unit in a couple of weeks. So the next time you see the outside, it'll be green. The stainless, we're leaving stainless. We're going to maybe slightly overlap a little bit, but we quite like that look. Window frames are going to be all blacked. A little bit of work to do on the cab, just more for the fact we want to strip handles off and do bits and bobs. And then where the blues were on top, we've sort of gone back and forth on options for that, and arrived at, we're going to make a box section to sit over that with some sort of rounded corners to give us a bit of protection on the body. One of the things we've found with this one, and with all the ones we looked at really, was that because this part protrudes from the cab, if you're taking it down narrow lanes where it's branchy and twiggy, this bit is susceptible to getting hit by branches, and with it being fiberglass, you know, it will split and crack, which this one had done. So we've still got a little bit of repair work to do there, but yeah, that's the plan for the front. On the inside, all the wood aspect is now largely finished. As you can see, we've took the stained glass out because we're getting ready to oil this now. So all the cladding, got solid oak worktops. The bed needs a little final bit of tweaking and adjustment. The plywood storage there will sit under the bolster cushions for the sofa cum bed. And then we've got a nice piece of walnut to sit on top of that waning edged front cupboard under there. So next job really is to get this oiled. I'm going to be using tung oil to do it across the whole thing. So there's a bit of time in getting that done right, but that'll just bring out this burnt finish. But it'll also give it a seal. Tung oil is food safe as well, so we'll be doing the worktops. So it'll be waterproof, food safe and protected. So if you get any marks on it, they'll just wipe off. So that's kind of where we're at. There's a few little bits left to do in the ceiling and stuff, but we've decided, based on what we've got left to do, we're going to focus on getting the wood done, and when it goes down to the unit, we'll be cracking on with the final little bits of electrics. The only other thing to do, we've got beading going around these tops. You'll see there's some slight variation in gap, and that's because this was actually reclaimed tongue groove board, so we had to make the best of the lengths that we've got, but we were always going to bead that anyway, because what we found is that this fiberglass body it's not perfectly square, although it looks pretty good. When you start putting stuff in and putting lasers through it, you can see that it has got some variation and sort of twists, especially in relation to the position of the cab. Hole for the jam pan sink, that's all finished and tapered off. This worktop, we'll be having the tiles in, so that's for your hot pans, plates, so we're not burning the oak. And then around the oak doors, these sections here are going to be painted black with a sort of protective coat, because they will get a little bit of weather. You know, whilst we're not going to be wanting to leave the doors open when it's hammering it down with rain, there's always going to be periods where it's going to get wet. So all of these edges are going to be sealed to stop any sort of ingress getting behind the timber. You know, I've seen it before in campers where people don't think, they think that this small gap down here is not a big deal, but you get water behind there, it's going to soak into the insulation, it's going to blow the timber out, it could warp the body. So, it's going to be a case of last job is going through and making sure we're nice and sealed, protected against the elements. And yeah, realistically, we're probably a couple of weeks away from being on the whole finished. New number plates are here, V5 bike from the DVLA. It's insured, it can go on the road. So yeah, there's a few more bits to do, but on the whole, the bulk of getting it done and designing it's now done. So we'll check in soon, and give us a like and subscribe if you've been enjoying what we've been doing, because we will be doing some mechanical bits and bobs that we'll be doing in a little bit more detail for you.